السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وعملا وهدى وتقا ورشادا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم فقهنا في الدين وعلمنا التأويل. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من علم لا ينفع، من قلب لا يخشع، ومن نفس لا تشبع، ومن دعوة لا تسمع. نعوذ بك اللهم من هؤلاء الأربع. أما بعد، فحياكم الله جميعا في الدرس الثاني في تدارس أحكام رمضان. Welcome you all to the second lecture of our mutual study of the Ahkam and rulings related to Ramadan. And yesterday we talked about the virtues of Ramadan and also the essence of fasting and what is the purpose behind fasting. Also, we discussed issues related to the moon sighting and the commencement of the month of Ramadan, and at the same time we also discussed the types of people who are exempted from fasting. And of course, our lectures are we are keeping it brief and summarized, and we are just discussing the issues that are the most prominent or most relevant and most important. We are not trying to cover all of the issues that are related to the fiqh of Siyaam or Ramadan. And hence, there are some types of people, for example, who might be exempted from fasting, and we did not discuss them. For example, someone is in a dire situation in which he has to, for example, work in order to feed his family, and his work his work is very laborious, and it involves a lot of for example, working out in the sun, and he cannot do without drinking water or eating food. So these kind of dire situations and scenarios and circumstances, for example, someone needs to break his fast in order to save someone else's life, or let's say he has to protect someone or something, or some of his property, and he cannot do without, for example, consuming some kind of substance, or gaining strength through food and drink. So these kinds of scenarios that were likely not to be relevant to us, we did leave them out. And this is how the nature of our program is for now. Also, the people who are exempted from fasting, we could have mentioned, but we're going to mention them in a separate mas'ala, and those are the women who are going through their menses or the postnatal bleeding. And once the menstrual cycle starts, or the postnatal bleeding starts and the blood appears, then the fast by itself breaks. And such a woman, she's not just exempted from fasting, even if she does fast, it's not going to be acceptable. It does not fulfill the requisites of fasting. It does not fulfill the requisites of fasting, because to be in the state of ritual purity, when it comes to be free from hayd and nifas, to be free from menses and postnatal bleeding, is one of the requisites of fasting. Yes, if one is in the state of janaba, his fast is valid. It's absolutely fine. No any harm in that. However, if a woman is going through her menses or postnatal bleeding, then she cannot fast. And even if she does fast, it's not acceptable, and she still has to make up for it. On the other hand, she cannot also pray salat, but salat, she doesn't have to make up for it. One of the reasons can be because the salat is 5 times a day, and to make up all of these salawat is way more difficult than, for example, making up only for 7 days after Ramadan. But if you have the salawat of 7 days accumulated, and then you have the salawat of the other regular days as well, then it's too much to make up. And this is from the ease that the Sharia has provided to the women, and this is from the mercy and compassion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Also here, perhaps we can discuss this issue, but we'll be going a little bit off the topics, inshallah. If we have time at the end, we can discuss the famous hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, in which he mentioned that he mentioned this the fact that a woman does not pray for 7 days or for a few days, and she cannot fast or she cannot pray, he expressed that, or he explained that as nuqsan ad-din. Nuqsan ad-din means a, you can say a deficiency, or defect in one's religiosity. Uh, so, what is the correct interpretation of this hadith? The interpretation of this hadith is that yes, even though that she would be rewarded for these days that she has been sitting uh, through the time period that she's been sitting through, but she will be rewarded for the prayers that she misses out on, of course, because it's not because of her own will. It's not out of her own will that she's not praying. Rather, it's because she is, yani, it's a condition that, yani, she cannot do anything about. But when it comes to nuqsan ad-din, and nuqsan ad-din here refers to deficiency, or um, um, you can say reduce or decrease in religiosity, or decrease in iman, and that is because of one being away from the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one being away from the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is exactly the way a traveler would feel after, for example, having traveled for a few days, and he's observing the qasr salat, and perhaps he's not even going to the masjid in some situations, and he's praying at his home, or in his hotel, for example, or wherever he's living, and he's not even praying the sunan rawatib, like the sunnahs before dhuhr, after dhuhr, after maghrib, after isha, before fajr, etc. Let's say, so he would feel a decrease in his iman, and decrease in his religiosity, because of this weaker connection that he has now with the prayers, even though he is allowed to not to pray 2 rak'ahs instead of 4, and to leave out the sunnah rawatib. It's absolutely fine for him, but still, because of this loss of the connection that he had with dhikr of Allah and the remembrance of Allah, he will feel a reduction and decrease in his iman and religiosity. And that's exactly how the nuqsan ad-din is there in this hadith. That's what it's meant by it, that a woman, when she sits out for 7 days, 8 days, 6 days, and does not pray at all, she feels a disconnect, and that's what causes the naqs and the decrease in the iman. Wallahu a'lam. Right. Now today, inshallah, we will be discussing the issues or things that invalidate the fast, that invalidate the fast. طبعا يا إخوان, it's very, first of all, eating and drinking bil ijma, that's the very main that's the main thing that invalidates the fast. Eating and drinking, that's what we have to abstain from. That's the very essence of fasting, of course. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَكُلُوا وَاشْرَبُوا حَتَّى يَتَبَيَّنَ لَكُمُ الْخَيْطُ الْأَبْيَضُ مِنَ الْخَيْطِ الْأَسْوَدِ مِنَ الْفَجْرِ. You can eat and drink until the Fajr becomes apparent to you. ثُمَّ أَتِمُّ الصِّيَامَ إِلَى اللَّيْلِ. Once the Fajr becomes apparent to you, you have to, the Sawm starts, and you have to now abstain from eating and drinking until it is nighttime. So when it is the Adhan of Maghrib and night enters, then you can again resume eating and drinking. That's very clear. Engaging in intimate relations, of course, in intimate relations, that, and by that we are referring to the intercourse. This is the most dangerous of the matters that invalidate the fast. Why? Because this causes the kafara. The kafara becomes, the expiation kafara becomes mandatory with it. So if one indulges in intercourse during the fast, then he doesn't just have to make for that day, he also has to pay the kafara. And what is the kafara for it? The kafara for it is to free a slave. If he's not able to do so, then he has to fast for 2 consecutive months. He has to fast for 2 consecutive months. And 1 month in Sharia generally is 29 days. So at least 58 days he has to fast consecutively. And if he is unable to do that either, then he has to feed 60 people. When he has to feed 60 people. And this is the severest of the nullifiers, or the things that invalidate the fast. In the same category comes fulfilling one's desires through any other means. For example, it's not through intercourse, but someone fulfills their, for example, sexual desires through other means, such that they يعني, to an extent that they reach the orgasm. And in this kind of a scenario as well, if that's done intentionally, then it will invalidate the fast. However, the kafara will not apply. The kafara would not apply, and the kafara only applies to the very act of intercourse and not the fulfillment of desires through any other means. So if the desires are fulfilled through any other means intentionally, then this will not, the kafara will not be applied to it. However, it will invalidate the fast. But in case of, let's say, one is sleeping and he has let's say, a wet dream, then this does not invalidate the fast because it's not done intentionally. It is out of his free will, right? Sorry, it's not. He is not doing it intentionally, and it just happens, and he has no control. It's out of his control. He has no control over it. Now, number 3, menstrual bleeding or postnatal bleeding. If this starts, if it commences, then it breaks the fast, and that particular day as well has to be made up. For example, if a woman, finds the blood just before the iftar, let's say half an hour before iftar, then the fast becomes invalidated, and she has to make up for that day as well. And as long as the menses or the postnatal bleeding continues, she cannot fast. Even if she does, it won't be a valid fast. Number 4, this is important to understand, and this will solve much of our wasawis that we usually have. That if something enters the body, does it break the fast? Does it not break the fast? This is very important to understand. And this is what the muhaqqiqeen from the ulama, like Sheikh Ibn Taymiyyah rahmatullah alayh, this is how they have theorized what the matters that invalidate the fast. They say eating, drinking, things that have been explicitly mentioned in the texts. What has been explicitly mentioned in the texts? What is the mansus alayh? The mansus alayh matters are eating, drinking, and jima, intercourse, right? Anything that plays the same role as these 3, as the mansus alayh, that will take the same ruling. But it has to play the same role as the other 3. It has to play the same role as the 3. How? For example, now when it comes to eating and drinking, what are the things that that eating and drinking involves? Eating and drinking involves consuming something through the throat or mouth, and such that it reaches the stomach. So a substance reaching the stomach, this is considered as eating and drinking, especially through the throat or the nose, right? This is eating and drinking. And the other very important trait of eating and drinking is the fact that it provides nutrition. It provides nutrition to the body. So if anything is being consumed in a way other than, for example, you're not consuming and you're not taking it in through the mouth or the nose, but you are injecting it into your bloodstream, and it provides nutrition to you, then it plays the same role as eating and drinking. It plays the same role as eating and drinking, because the purpose behind eating and drinking is to acquire or attain nutrition. So if that same role is played by something else, then it will take the same ruling as eating and drinking, and hence it will invalidate the fast. So these are 2 things. Eating and drinking, there are 2 things that are equated with it. The first one is consuming something through the throat or the nose, such that it reaches the stomach. Reaching the stomach is important. That is number 1. And number 2, the second thing that is equated with eating and drinking is that it plays the same role, or it fulfills the same very objective. That is the objective of eating and drinking, which is to provide nutrition to the body. So if you're taking some kind of an injection that provides nutrition to the body, or let's say blood transfusion, etc., all of these would add nutrition to the body. So they are carrying out the same role as that of eating and drinking, and hence it will also be considered something that invalidates the fast. So that's why we have in part A, we said swallowing a substance or inhaling it such that it reaches the stomach. So if you're inhaling something or you're consuming it through the nose, for example, the cannula or something that you're transferring the fluids through the nose, such that it's reaching the stomach, then it will uh, invalidate the fast. Or you're swallowing something uh, that reaches the stomach, of course, that will be considered eating and drinking. Now, you might ask, what if that thing is not nutritious? It's not providing any kind of nutrition to my body. So will that still be considered something that will invalidate the fast? Yes, it will be, because the way you have consumed it, that's the very definition of eating and drinking. Swallowing something or consuming it through the throat, nose, or mouth, and such that it reaches the stomach, the definition of eating and drinking applies to it. Hence, it will take the same ruling as eating and drinking. And hence, when it comes to, for example, someone who bleeds in the mouth, they are supposed to spit out the blood and not swallow it. Why? Because the ulama said that because blood, it's an external substance, and it's not part of the liquids that are there in the mouth, and hence it should not be swallowed. If it's swallowed, it will cause the fast to be invalidated. Likewise, mucus. Well, some of the scholars, they said that mucus, because it comes from within the body, within the throat usually, or the nose. So if it goes in, it does not invalidate the fast. And some said that it should be spit out, otherwise it would invalidate the fast. And it's safer to spit it out, but it's not necessary that it would invalidate the fast, according to the more sound opinion, or what seems to be the sounder opinion. The mucus would not invalidate the fast. Wallahu a'lam. Swallowing the water taken in the mouth for rinsing. For example, you're rinsing your mouth, or for example, you put the water in your nose, and you put it very deep inside, such that it's reaching the throat, or for example, you're rinsing the mouth and gargling, and you happen to, just swallow that amount of water. So in this case, it will of course break the fast. That's why the Prophet ﷺ is reported to have said, وَبَالِغْ فِي الْإِسْتِنْشَاقِ إِلَّا أَن تَكُونَ صَائِمًا. Yani, take the water in your nose very deep, unless and until you are sa'im. If you're sa'im, if you're fasting, then do not do so. Do not do so. This goes on to show that the Prophet ﷺ asked us to avoid taking water in such a way that it would reach the stomach. What about the saliva in the mouth? That does not harm at all, and you don't have to spit it, and you can take it in. But if someone is gathering the saliva in the mouth, and so it's better to avoid these kinds of acts. But generally, saliva, it does not harm the fast at all. Okay. Now, swallowing the water taken in the mouth for rinsing. Also, while rinsing, though, what happens is that the moisture remains in the mouth, right? Like after you have done your wudu, there will be moisture remaining in the mouth, and some of the water will mix with your saliva. This amount of water, if it goes in, this is not harmful. This would not invalidate the fast. This would not affect your fast. So we don't have to, be too obsessed with this. That I rinsed my mouth, or I've just done my wudu, and what about the water droplets that mix with my saliva? Can I swallow it? Or do I have to spit it out? No. If you have spit out the most amount of water that you had rinsed with, and whatever remaining moisture mixes with your saliva, it does not affect your fast if it's swallowed. And based on this, we will be building or we will be basing some issues on this very phenomenon, that some of the water, some of the moisture, it does mix with the saliva and does go in. Hence, we will be basing on this the fact that you can use miswak during the Siyaam. Why can you use miswak? Because when you use miswak, and even if you find some kind of a taste in your throat, it's equal to or less than the moisture that is mixed with the saliva after you have rinsed your mouth, and hence miswak would not affect your fast. Likewise, using toothpaste and toothbrush during a fast, it would not affect your fast. Even if you find some kind of a taste in your throat. Why? Because that amount that has mixed and with the saliva, it's less than or equal to the moisture that mixes with the saliva when you rinse your mouth. Now, number 3, we said swallowing the food stuck between the teeth if it's in large amounts. Now, if there is a very large amount of food that's stuck between the teeth, yani, sometimes, quite a large amount of quite a large chunk of food, gets stuck in the molar teeth at times. So in this case, you have to spit it out. But if it's something very minute and it's unavoidable, it's not easy for everyone to use to floss the teeth in the morning before the Siyaam, or use the toothpick. And even if you use the toothpick, there are some little, very small chunks that still remain in the mouth. These will not affect your Siyaam. But if it's a very large chunk that is stuck in the molar teeth, and then this kind of a chunk of food must be spit out. Else, if you swallow it, it will invalidate the fast. Swallowing or inhaling substances that are non-nutritious, but some part of it reaches the stomach. Now, for example, someone just swallows some pebbles. Now, pebbles are harmful for your body, do not provide any kind of nutrition. They will come out the way they went in, etc., etc. But they will invalidate the fast. Why? Because the definition of eating and drinking applies to it. You took it through the mouth and it reached the stomach, or it reached the stomach. So if it's reaching the stomach, then the definition of eating and drinking is applying to it, and hence it will invalidate the fast. Likewise, smoking. Like in case of smoking, the scholars, they say that it invalidates the fast. I'm not very sure about how much of a substance reaches the stomach, but they say that it does. There is an amount of substance that does reach the stomach, because we have nicotine, we have the tobacco burning, and then a person, like sucks on the cigarette. So all of this increases the likelihood of some substance reaching the stomach, and hence it will come under the category of eating and drinking, because some kind of a substance is reaching the stomach through the throat, and hence it will invalidate the fast. Or, for example, intensely inhaling some substance, such that it would reach the stomach. Like there's some kind of a powder, and you inhale it intensely, such that it reaches the stomach. This will also invalidate the fast. Now, the second category to which the definition of eating and drinking applies is that which provides nutrition, even if it is not consumed in the stomach, even if it does not reach the stomach, or it's not eaten, it's not taken in through the mouth or through the nose, but it provides nutrition. If it's providing nutrition, it's playing the same role as that of food and drink. So since it's fulfilling the same purpose and objective, it will take the same ruling. So the definition of eating and drinking will apply to it. Why? Because it is fulfilling the same objective that is the one of eating and drinking. So that is why nutritional injections such as the intravenous fluids that are given to patients, of course they will, even though they are injected into the bloodstream, they will invalidate the fast. Likewise, blood transfusion, because when the blood transfusion happens, the blood is a form of nutrition. It contains all the nutrients. That's where all the nutrients go. So if someone is donating blood to you, and the process of blood transfusion happens, and blood is injected in your body, then this will also invalidate the fast, because the blood contains the nutrients, and nutrients are being added to your body, so it will play the same role as that of eating and drinking. But these matters that invalidate the fast, any of the above, if they are done unintentionally, out of forgetfulness, I just mistakenly ate, I forgot I was fasting, etc., it will not harm or affect the fast in any way. The Prophet ﷺ said that if someone unintentionally eats or out of forgetfulness he eats, then there is no harm on it. And إِنَّمَا أَطْعَمَهُ اللَّهُ وَسَقَاهُ. The Prophet ﷺ, the whole hadith is, مَنْ أَكَلَ نَاسِيًا وَهُوَ صَائِمٌ فَلْيُتِمَّ صَوْمَهُ. The one who eats out of forgetfulness, then he should complete his fast. فَإِنَّمَا أَطْعَمَهُ اللَّهُ وَسَقَاهُ. Because Allah is the one who has given him this food and drink, and it's it would not harm or affect the fast. And likewise, um, um, the other nullifiers of the fast will take the same ruling. Right. Now, things that do not invalidate the fast. Why are we mentioning this? Because they are famous, or very people usually perceive that they invalidate the fast, even though they don't. Amongst them is drawing blood. Why do they say it invalidates the fast? Because of a hadith that is authentic, which says "Aftar al-hajim wal-mahjum." The one who is performing the process of cupping in which you take out the blood that is um, what do you call it, the polluted, or the harmful blood is taken out from the body in the process of cupping. So that the person who does it is called hajim, and the one upon whom this process is applied is called mahjum. So the Prophet ﷺ said in the hadith, "Aftar al-hajim wal-mahjum." However, we have other hadith that are narrated in Sahih, like in Sahih Bukhari, in which it's narrated that the Prophet ﷺ احتجم وهو محرم. He performed hijama in the state of ihram. In the state of ihram, that means drawing blood or bleeding in the state of ihram does not have any effect on the ihram. And also احتجم وهو صائم, and he also did the hijama in the state of siyam while he was fasting. And hence the scholars, they interpreted the other hadith, which is after al-hajim al-mahjum, as that it will lead him to breaking his fast. Why? Because he will then suffer from weakness. And the one who is performing the hijama, in the olden times, they used to suck the blood with their mouths. So there was a high likelihood of the blood reaching the stomach, or the hajim, happening to swallow the blood. And that's what the hadith, according to them, means, that the hijama will lead to the hajim and mahjum breaking their fast, not that it does, the act itself does it. And hence, if someone draws blood for a blood sample for testing, or for any other purpose, or even if he donates the blood, then it would not harm or affect his fast in any way. Also, it was Anas ibn Malik radiallahu anhu he was asked, أَكُنْتُمْ تَكْرَهُونَ الْحِجَامَةَ لِلصَّائِمِ عَلَى عَهْدِ النَّبِيِّ صلى الله عليه وسلم. Did you used to dislike hijama in the time of the Prophet ﷺ for a fasting person? He said, قال لا, we did not used to dislike or not recommend it, إلا من أجل الضعف, except due to the weakness that it causes. So if it would cause weakness to the person who is fasting, then that's the reason we used to dislike it and not recommend it. Otherwise, we were fine with it, meaning that it does not affect the fast, or it does not invalidate the fast. Okay, number two, we said non-nutritional injections such as insulin. Why? Because if you are, if a substance enters your body through, it's not entering your stomach, and it enters your body through some other place. So, like in case of insulin, we inject it into the flesh, right, on our abdomens, and at the same time, so the first definition, which was A part, swallowing a substance or inhaling it such that it reaches the stomach, even if it is not nutritious, this does not apply to insulin, right? Or any non-nutritional injection does not apply to it. Let's come to the next babit, or next maxim, which is taking a substance into the body that will provide nutrition. Insulin does not provide nutrition. So, or any non-nutritional injection for that sake, if they are not providing nutrition, even if they are ending up in the bloodstream, then this will, wallahu a'lam, even if they are being absorbed in the body, then this will not invalidate the fast, because it does not come under the category of eating and drinking. It's not being consumed the way eating and drinking is done, and it's not also performing the role, or carrying out the role of eating and drinking, which is to provide nutrition. Hence, it will not affect the fast. Number three, ointments, oils, creams, beauty cosmetics that are applied to the skin. All that is applied to the skin, that would not invalidate the fast. Why would it not invalidate the fast? Just remember this, because it does not come under the category of eating and drinking. Just remember that. If anything does not come under the category of eating and drinking, it will not invalidate the fast. Hakada. Why it does not come in under the under the category of eating and drinking? Because it's not consumed in the way we eat and drink, and also it does not provide nutrition. So even if there are some ointments that you're applying to some wounds, if you apply creams or ointments to the wounds, it is entering your body, but is it nutrition? It's not. Are you eating or drinking it, like consuming it through your mouth or nose and it's reaching the stomach? No. So hence it does not take the same ruling. Inhalers for asthma, however, in case of nebulizer, it would break the fast. Yes, inhalers, for example, why? Because the substance only goes to the lungs, and if there is any amount of the substance in case of inhalers reaching the stomach is very minute. It's less than the amount that reaches the stomach when in case of rinsing. So when you're rinsing the mouth and the moisture mixes with the saliva and then you swallow the saliva, the amount of water that might reach your stomach and it does not affect your fast, it is more than the amount that would reach in case of puffing the inhaler. However, in case of nebulizer, the mist, it's in large amounts, and it's very likely for the mist or a larger amount of mist reaching the stomach. Hence, in case of nebulizer, it would break the fast. Using miswak, toothpaste, as we mentioned previously as well, as long as the substance is spit out, you don't swallow the thing, don't swallow the toothpaste or the substance that is that comes out of the miswak. You have to spit it out, but whatever of the little taste remains and it mixes with the saliva, and if you happen to swallow it, it will not affect the fasting. It will not affect your fast. Vomiting, whether intentional or unintentional. There's a hadith that is da'if, which says that من ذرعه القيء فليس عليه قضاء. The one who vomits unintentionally and it's overcome by his vomit, he does not have to make up for the fast. وَمَنِ اسْتَقَاءَ عَمْدًا فَلْيَقْضِي. But the one who intentionally does it, he has to make up for the fast. This hadith is da'if. This hadith is da'if. And hence, whether vomiting is done intentionally or unintentionally, it will not affect the fast. However, it's best to avoid vomiting intentionally. Intentionally, it's best to avoid it, but unintentionally, it's absolutely fine. It does not have any effect. Even if you happen to intentionally vomit, it does not have any effect on it. Also, there is this qawl of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud and Abu Hurairah and Abdullah ibn Abbas, in which they have mentioned that as-siyamu mimma dakhala la wa laysa mimma kharaja. Yani in the siyam, you have to abstain from taking things in, not taking things out. Yani something that comes out of your body does not affect the fast, like blood or vomit or anything that comes out of the body. That's not what affects the fast. What affects the fast, that goes inside the body. So that's a very important statement of Abdullah ibn Abbas, Abu Hurairah, and Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. As-siyamu mimma dakhala la mimma kharaja. What affects the siyam is that which enters the body, not which comes out. Number 7, incense, like bakhur, if you happen to smell it, or oxygen masks for that sake. All of this, if you happen to inhale some of the smoke, or in case of oxygen masks, if you inhale the oxygen, it will not affect your fast either. Also, nitroglycerin tablets, which are placed under the tongue in case someone is going to if someone is suffering from a heart attack, they place this tablet under the tongue. These are called nitroglycerin tablets. These are absorbed through the blood vessels in the mouth. So that's why you place it in the mouth and you don't swallow it. So it's not, absorbed in the body through the stomach or through the usual ways of eating or drinking. Rather, it's kept in the mouth so that it's through the vessels in the mouth, it is absorbed. And hence they said, because it's not, the definition of eating and drinking is not applying to it because you're not taking it into the stomach. And secondly, it's not providing nutrition. Hence, they said that this does not invalidate the fast either. Okay, there are some miscellaneous issues that I wanted to cover. And the first one is that it's a requisite to have the intention to fast from the night preceding the fast. And before the Fajr, you must have the niyyah, the intention to fast the next day. Why? Because the siyam that is wajib upon us is for the whole day. Siyam for the whole day and not for yani part of the day. So if you don't have intention for part of the day, let's say you yani for example, and this is not the case with someone who wants to fast the whole of Ramadan. Does not have to renew his intention every night. No, this is the case with someone who is, for example, yani suffering from an illness and he's not sure whether he's going to fast tomorrow or not. And let's say he says, okay, let me just wake up at Fajr, at Suhoor, and I'll see whether I'm feeling healthy enough to fast, or if I'm feeling too weak, I won't fast. And let's say he wakes up after Fajr. Now, if he wakes up after Fajr, this time that passed after Fajr until he woke up, this time of Siyam, he did not have the intention of fasting. Hence, this kind of a person now, yani, his fast for that day is not valid. He cannot fast that particular day, or the fast of that day is unacceptable. So you have to make up for that day. Why? Because part of the day, any part of the day passed without him having the intention of fasting. But a person, for example, who has the intention of fasting the whole of Ramadan, he does not have to renew his intention every night. It's only for a person who, had a disruption in his intention. Number two, there are no particular words to be uttered to intend the fast. There is a very famous hadith that circulated, نويت أن أصوم لغد من شهر Ramadan, or something like that. It's ضعيف, it's not authentic at all. It's ضعيف جدا. Number three, it's highly encouraged to take the suhoor meal, as the Prophet ﷺ said, تسحروا فإن في السحور بركة. Take the suhoor meal because in the suhoor there is barakah and there is blessing in it. Hence, you should, take the suhoor meal. And the time of suhoor, suhoor is the name for the meal that is taken at the time of sahar. Time of sahar is the time just before Fajr, which means it's just 15 to 20 minutes before the Fajr adhan. And that's the time when you should be taking the suhoor meal if you want to attain the barakah. If you eat the suhoor meal, or if you eat any kind of meal before that time, then it will not come under the heading of suhoor. So if you want the barakah, then you should take some kind of a meal, or at least drink something before the Fajr adhan, around 15 to 20 minutes. ثم قال, it is sunnah to delay the suhoor. Yes, it's sunnah to delay the suhoor. Why is it sunnah to delay the suhoor? Because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it's narrated from Anas and others that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, لحظة. قال عن زيد بن ثابت أنه قال تسحرنا مع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ثم قام إلى الصلاة. We did the suhoor with the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, and then he got up for salat. He was asked كم كان بين الأذان والسحور, how much was between the adhan and the suhoor? He said 50 ayahs, between the salat and the suhoor. So generally, the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ is to delay the suhoor as much as possible. The Prophet ﷺ also said, "Ni'ma suhoor al-mu'mini, or ni'ma suhoor al-mu'mini at-tamru." How good a suhoor for a believer are dates. So dates are something that it's sunnah to do suhoor with. And when it comes for the iftar, again, it's sunnah to do it as early as possible. The Prophet ﷺ is reported to have said, لا يزال الناس بخير ما عجلوا الفطرة. The people will remain upon goodness as long as they take the iftar early, as long as they do the iftar at the earliest time. So the earlier you do iftar, the better it is. However, is there anything particular that you should be doing the iftar with, like dates or water or something like that? Is there any hadith with regards to it? The hadith with regards to it is da'if. It's not authentic, which said that one should break the fast with dates. If not, then with water, then that hadith is da'if. So you can break the fast with anything. Is there any particular dua that is narrated from the Prophet ﷺ regarding the iftar? Yes, there are multiple du'as, but all of them are da'if, especially the one Allahumma laka sumtu wa bika amantu wa ala rizqika aftartu, etc. This hadith is not authentic and it's not sound. The best hadith, the most authentic is the dua which has been narrated from the Prophet, even though this itself is also da'if, but it's the most sound available dua, which is ذهب الظمأ وابتلت العروق وثبت الأجر Insha'Allah. The thirst has been quenched and the winds have been moistened and the ajr has been established with the permission of Allah. هذا ما عندنا. This is what we had with regards to the rulings pertaining to fasting. From inshallah today onwards or tomorrow onwards, we'll open the group for any questions that the group participants have. They can ask whatever they want to ask during the whole of Ramadan, inshallah. نكتفي بهذا القدر وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وآله وصحبه أجمعين. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.